The very worst part of being a boss, letting someone go. A really good friend of mine is having a pretty yucky time at the moment. He thinks he's about to be fired. So we've been talking about it a bit, and it's been really interesting to see his perspective as an employee and my perspective as an employer. And what it made me realize is that it's really rare to see both contexts for that situation. I hate to say it, but I have actually had to let go of people in the past in the business, and I would go as far as to say that it makes for some of the very worst days that I've ever had in the business. It's really awful. So if you think that you're in danger of being let go, or you have to let go of someone, below are kind of just some of my experiences as an employer that might be helpful. So generally speaking, these are the issues that I think about. So firstly, did they or did you have clear goals? Now, this is kind of a series of questions to get to the crux of that. So firstly, did you know what your expectations were? Did you know what the task was and when you had to complete it by? Did you have enough resources? Were you set up for success? Were you given enough time, budget, manpower? Did you know when you had completed it and when you had done it really well? So did you know what success looked like? And really importantly, when you answer all of these questions, you need to think to yourself as well, would my employer or would my employee answer these questions the same way? And if not, then this is an opportunity for discussion because you might have actually had a breakdown in communication. Number 2, was there a chance to resolve and develop? As an employer, did you tell the employee the problems as they arose? Or did you let them continue on until they became something really serious? You really owe it to your employees to tell them, give them feedback as it's happening so they have the best chance of resolving it. When you turn up to this discussion, nothing that you say should be a surprise. As the employee, is what you're hearing something new, or is it something that you've heard in the past couple of months? If it's something new, then it might be a good opportunity to ask to develop a plan so that you can resolve and develop this. If it's something that you've heard a few times in the past couple of months, the situation might be different. So if there isn't a chance to resolve and develop, then these next few tips are really important. 3, know the process. Whatever you do, do not wing it. You really, as the employer, have to take control in this particular meeting. It's really emotional, and unless you've planned for it, it's really hard to know what to do. So I've always felt that it's really important for the employer to take control and direct the meeting. You really owe it to the person and to the circumstance. The employer should have thought about things like, and this goes for the employee too. A, what the financial package is going to look like, so when their last paycheck will come through, what happens with their accumulated leave, that sort of thing. B, their last day in the office, what date that's going to be. C, security, so return of keys, equipment, and access to information. And D, how will they exit this meeting? This is so important. So are they to go home? Will they go back into the office? How will their things be cleaned up at their desk and sent to them? How will the team be informed? So if you're being let go on good terms, and I know that sounds like a total juxtaposition, but I mean, like in an instance of a redundancy or something like that, you may want to take this opportunity to ask for a letter of reference and a recommendation on your LinkedIn profile. Number 4, be really clear. Make sure that both of you come away with exactly the same message. So as an employer, and I know this is going to sound really cold, but I try to make sure that I don't buoy the person up with compliments because it's really unfair to give a whole lot of compliments and then say, oh, I'm letting you go. I try to be clear that this is the company letting them go and the reasons why if necessary. And for both of us, I also make sure there's always a third person in the room. So as the employee, and I actually do this when I find myself receiving some news that's not great, it's really important to listen and focus in on the why this has happened. And I know that it's difficult and it's horrible and it might seem unfair that you have a responsibility to action something in this particular context because it's awful, but it's so important for you to understand the why, be asking those questions, particularly if you're being given a lot of compliments, because sometimes people are just so uncomfortable with delivering news that they'll deliver all these compliments to you first. But just stay super focused on getting the why out, because when you're processing this later, it'll become a lot easier if you've got that knowledge. 5, if you are let go, As the employer, I really try to make sure that my team know that they are the priority. And the thing that is the worst out of this is if they are all getting scared and worried that they might be next. So sharing the news quickly, or I try to share the news quickly, help them to understand what has happened. And I also try and help them to understand that I am still very invested in them. As the employee, this is a really tough, horrible moment. I recommend getting out of the office and calling in some support to be with you for the rest of the day. So I know from this video it probably sounds like I'm firing people all the time, but I'm not, and we very rarely had to do it. Even if you know that it's the right business decision, you know how much pain financially, emotionally, for their future that you're causing this person, and nothing changes that. It's horrible. What I mentioned above is the ideal situation, but it might not play out that way. You might have a crappy boss, you might have an emotional explosion, but hopefully knowing both sides is something that will be helpful for you, because look, for anyone involved, it's just not a nice thing to have to go through. So if you have any questions, please leave them below in the comments. If you have any comments, feedback, experiences that you want to share, that would be great. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as well, so please check those out. I hope you have a great week, and I'll have another video up soon. Bye.